Hello and welcome to Connected, a digital show by ConnectCareHero that is dedicated to informing and influencing the future of social engagement activities for older adults in senior living. Each month, we provide industry professionals with the space to share the journeys as well as lessons learned in caring for the aging population. I'm your host, Tony Prince, CMO and co-founder of ConnectCareHero. I am beyond excited for today's episode because we're talking about the power of music in senior living. And I could not have asked for the most ideal guest. So by way of introduction, Trent, aka I call him the real Batman, is a sought after recording artist and writer who has worked with some heavy hitters in the industry. When he's not creating magic in a recording studio, he's using his talent to really transform the lives of older adults as a neurological music therapist. He is a board certified music therapist and has over 10 years of experience in senior living. He's been featured in many media outlets, including iHeartMedia. It is an honor to have the genius that is Mr. Trent Barrick with us. So, welcome to Connected, Trent.
Thank you, Tornu. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. That was a mouthful, but I'm super excited that we made it. Can you briefly share with us how did you get plugged into music and your musical journey?
Yeah, of course. So my parents are actually singers themselves, and so in my little town of Kentucky where I grew up, there is a culture of Southern gospel quartets and Southern gospel family bands, and so it seemed like every family had their own band, and they always go by their last names, and so ours was the Barracks. And two members that weren't actually barracks, but they filled the gaps where we needed it. And so I did a little bit of work, especially when I was younger with my parents, and they were actively actually involved in going into the community, going to nursing homes, going to churches, and then performing these really encouraging songs that happen to, be very spiritually rooted, but also they would be addressing real life issues and always steering people back towards hope. And so that was my foundation. Always hearing my dad play the piano, always hearing my mom sing, hearing them harmonize. And so I always developed that ear for it when I was really little. And then growing up, I chose not to really pursue that, but I got into band. I got into playing the saxophone. Long story short, went through college on a saxophone scholarship
Oh,
and ended
wow.
up finding music therapy, and found that that had really fit the trajectory of my life starting when I was really young. And I just started to get a desire to sing and play guitar, play piano, figure out percussion, kind of be more well rounded as a musician. And then I just knew it was me, it was for me. And I just went right into it. And here we are, 11 years later.
And how
Yeah.
did you arrive in senior care? I mean, you talked about going to college and sort of studying, music therapy. How did you arrive in senior care working with older adults?
Absolutely. So we have practicums as music therapy students. We have practicums and we can choose different placements. Mostly the placements that I uh, went into were either hospitals or adults or children with neurodiverse needs or neurodivergent needs. And so I just realized upon our internship time, which all music therapists have to have 1,200 hours of clinical hours before sitting for boards, and that comes out to be about 6 months, right? I realized I had not worked enough with older adults, and I ended up going into hospice work because I felt like their strength could really match me in my weakness, and they could develop me in a way that could just really take me to the next level professionally with my musicianship. And I know a lot of people, they might look at that decision for me to go into hospice care and think, oh my gosh, that's so depressing. But at the same time, there was such a fire in me to pursue it and such a sense of adventure because ultimately I had made a decision, birthed out of passion and ambition, that I wanted to use music to really meet someone in a stage of life and help address whatever need that I could. And I wanted to make music that changed people's lives ultimately for the better. That's what I grew up seeing my parents able to do with music, and that's what I wanted to do as a career. And so hospice was just a really great fit for me, even in my early 20s, and I found it super rewarding.
That is so interesting because most young people would not even think about going into hospice care in any way, shape, or form at such a young age. But here you are, barely out of college and you're making that decision. How was that as a young person being exposed to the reality of life?
Yeah, it was difficult because I think you can see in America that we are so almost confined from our elders. We're separate, and that's such a travesty to me because they have wisdom. They've had a lifelong experience. The culmination of their life is all their decisions, all of their strengths, all of their ambitions wrapped into one. And there's all these stories and all these people and all these personalities that you might miss if you're not allowed to go into these places just to sit with them and just to be with them, just to do life with them, even if at the end of life, right? Or towards the end of life. And so for me, I had always grown up with my grandparents right next to me. The church that we had grown up into primarily had a lot of older people, so it was a very fluid movement, for me for sure. But at the same time, like I recognize that a lot of people my age were definitely missing out on the wisdom that comes from just spending your youth with the elders to glean, what can be gleaned from, so you can make sure you do live the best life possible. Because without direction, without guidance, we might not be able to make those decisions, or if we do, it's usually at the expense of a lot of mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's so beautiful. As someone who currently works in senior living, how would you describe the social engagement state in senior living?
Yeah. So that varies. That varies depending on right now the state that you live in ultimately, and all states have uh, a huge demand on them in regards to infection control and safety protocol. And of course, COVID has absolutely changed so many environments that we've been able to just go into without any issues. And so for a good year, all the music therapists that I know had to get like amps and speakers and headsets, and they would do parking lot music therapy group sessions where they would be standing in the middle of a parking lot and then singing to all these seniors that would be invited to come out onto their balconies,
Yeah.
right? And so other music therapists would have to go outside of the window of a senior's house or their apartment and facilitate therapy that way, or spread the joy of music through that way. And it was a different approach to therapy, but with creativity. We did the best we could. I think that's, we have to be proud of ourselves because it was a very exhausting time. And of course with telehealth also provided many, many opportunities, and that kind of revolutionized everything. And so to even be part of ConnectCareHero, uh, I felt like I was at the cusp of something really brilliant and beautiful, because we were able to kind of simulate this normal experience, or as normal as possible, to more people than we could have ever reached just on our own, given our geographic, locations. Um, and so I love that all this creativity has really been birthed out of a very difficult time for so many people, and a very scary time for so many people. And so, there's the good and the challenging, and that's, everybody's just trying to ride the wave at this point.
Certainly, that's beautiful. As you think about the work that you and other therapists are having in the lives of older adults, what would you say is your value add to the lives of older adults at this point in your career? How are you all impacting the quality of life for older adults?
Great question. And so really with music therapy, our approach to using music is to either address and help to maintain function, um, or is to enhance the quality of life. And that could be done through a variety of ways. If that looks like we're addressing speech and language to help preserve the functioning that's already there, if we're working on emotional regulation, or we're working on agitation, if we're going in to try to combat the social isolation that can be caused because of depression or anxiety or confusion, given any type of illness that might be present, or even just as someone's aging, they might not feel like themselves, and pulling the gold out, right, of people sharing music together, making music together,
Mhm.
um, getting to know someone, getting to know their favorite song, and reliving the best parts of their life and bringing out the best parts of who they are through music. Uh, that's what I think brings a lot of the value for me in that space where that we've created just through a relationship, and that's what it really comes back to at the end of the day is just a really, the rapport is the strongest part of and the most important part of a music therapy process and building that rapport and the sharing of music or memories. And then ultimately, if we can create something like a music legacy project or a life review project where they're getting to share their life pictures, songs with their families. When you think of these 5 songs, this is how I want you to remember me by,
Mm.
right? You can be as creative as that way to really honor someone's entire life and not just meet the needs at the end, but really
Beyond.
help them be remembered in a way that is just special.
No, absolutely. And I love that legacy train of thought because, yeah, at the end of the day, if someone has some debilitating illness, you can only do so much as a music therapist. Ultimately, there will come a point where the life will come to an end. I mean, that's a reality that we all have to face. And I think the gift that you're giving families, though, through a legacy project is to say, like, hey, yes, a loved one has transitioned on, but these are the legacies that you can still enjoy with this within your generation and generations to come. I think that is so special. And I think, again, it's a gift that no one can ever purchase. And giving that to a family member, man, how comforting is that? Just putting yourself in that position if you were to lose a loved one. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
It
It's a
is. It
it's a
is.
blessing, yeah, for
As you
sure.
think about the future, what excites you as both as a musician and as a music therapist? Like, what are some trends that you're seeing that you're like, man, I can't wait for this to be implemented? A music legacy project would certainly fall into that category. But what else excites you about the future?
Oh gosh, I think seeing technology being used in these places, um, the older generation, older is it's getting less and less, right? Every year, unfortunately, the younger generation is starting to become the people who were born in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And honestly, for me, maybe this is selfish, but I love the 60s and 70s music. I love it. And so to get to use more of that music in my sessions, knowing that that is going to be rapport building, knowing that that's going to actually be able to address a lot of needs. You can tell by my hands right now, I'm like,
You're
I'm
like,
so
oh,
excited. I'm so excited because maybe, I was born at that time in another life. I don't know.
I was gonna say maybe at your core, you're like this dude who's like from the '60s, and
Yeah, yeah, it would make sense.
it's
It
okay.
makes
I
sense.
tell people, listen, I tell people I was born in the '70s. I just feel like I was from the '70s. Like I love '70s music. I
Yeah,
love listening to that. I think through
so
family and
good.
friends.
So good.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm here for that. '60s, yes.
Yeah, it was fun because yesterday I was at a senior care living, and I was doing more of my traditional therapy techniques, and we were going through musicals, but I could tell everybody was kind of like, nodding off, not the energy just wasn't there, and I made a choice to start including songs that I really connected with into the space to see what would happen. I'm like, I wonder, and they were all songs like, 70s, 60s, like Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, like all these like really upbeat like songs, and everybody came to life. It's like I saw the party people of the 60s and the 70s just back at it, just having fun, living their best life and dancing with each other, smiling, laughing, singing along. And literally within 5 minutes, everyone went from like this state. And
Oh wow.
there's different levels of support. Some people will stay like that. Some people do have, they're at that level of, only being able to do so much. But for the majority of people, right? Just a whole new energy wave just hit the room just with the change of music, the speed of the tempo, the lyrical change, and it was awesome because it bridged so many gaps. Because in our groups down here in South Florida, we have a lot of diversity. So we have not only English speaking residents, we have people who speak Portuguese, we have people that speak Spanish, and you can only do so much within the time that you're given. But it was so fluid because then as you're singing like Creedence Clearwater's Proud Mary, you can easily just go right into something like something like La Bamba, which is more 1950s, or something like that to help just get people to another place. And if you're requiring them to do any type of movement, to address some sensory motor issues, they're going to flow right into it, because the way that the power of music, right, the body actually responds first to music, and then the brain processes it. And so as the sound waves really quick hit the ear, right, it actually is translated into the spinal cord first. That's the reason why you have this automatic response if you hear a loud noise. Your body literally has a physical reaction, and then it's processed in all the different compartments of your brain, because it's almost like code that's being sent to the computer, and it's looking through and trying to decipher, okay, what rhythm is this, what lyric is this, what does this mean, what mood, or how does this make me feel, what associations, what memories do I have to this music. Oh, and within milliseconds you can remember lyrics, you can remember who you were with when you heard this song. You can engage an injured brain and ultimately retrain it using the power of music, as long as you're skilled to do so. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the way that it makes music is the brain's language, right? And so the way it makes us respond and come together is absolutely breathtaking.
There is definitely a correlation between music and language, 100%
Yeah.
off the bat. And then also, I think this is why I appreciate the work that you do and so many music therapists, is having the ability to have those insights. Like, the correlation between our neurological pathways and music, and how that comes together and impacts a life of whether it's an older adult or whomever you're administering your services to. I think so many people in senior living have this misconception that, oh, music therapists, they're just musicians. We're just playing, a random song for the afternoon. But it's like, no, there are deeper components that you guys are putting together that just add so much value to the life of an older adult. And I definitely appreciate that and so much more.
Thank
Man,
you.
I can talk to you forever, but we have to do some quick rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, so we can have a musician on without doing this, of course. Better yet, who was the biggest influence on you as a musician and growing up?
Cool. For me, I would say it's a singer-songwriter named Sarah Groves.
There it goes. All right, awesome. Next, life-altering moment that you've had as a board certified music therapist.
That was definitely being present for the first person to actively pass away or transition whenever I was playing over them. And they were alone. It was just us two together. And so they shared their last moments with me, a complete stranger. And I just felt so honored by that, for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, from that very beautiful moment to, I guess this is also a great question. Who would be your dream collaborator as a musician?
And perhaps I haven't dreamed a whole lot, but I feel like it's kind of already happened, to be honest with you. Like I got a chance to work with Breland, and
Mm.
he's a resin country artist. And since the first day I met him, I always inside thought he would be kind of like this legend and probably the most famous person I ever met. And so he's on his way to stardom, and he's worked really hard to get there. And so I'm just honored, and happy that our paths crossed when they did. And I mean, he is a dream to work with, to be honest with you.
Wow. All right. Can you sing the ABC, please? The ABC song, or any nursery rhyme songs of your choice.
A B C 1 2 3, something like do re mi. A B C 1 2 3, baby, you and me, girl. Was that it?
Oh wow, I was just gonna say A B C D E F G, but you took
Oh,
it to the Jackson Five. No, that's even
oh,
better. No, no,
hold
no,
up.
that was
Ahem.
good. That was good. That was good, man. What's your go-to karaoke song?
It's either Super Bass by Nicki Minaj,
Nice.
or it might be Shoot by Salt and Pepper.
Listen, can I get a little bit of shoot right now?
Can I? I mean, you pack and you stack, especially in the back. Brother, wanna thank your mother for a
Hey,
butt like that. Can I get some fries with the shake shake booty? If looks could kill, you would be an Uzi. You're a shotgun bang. What's it with that thing? I wanna know how to hang. Straight up, wait up, hold up, Mr. Lover. Lot Prince said you're a sexy mother. Well, I like 'em real wild. Beat boy, stop by the mile. Snoop's like that, bright as the sun. I wanna have some fun. Come and give me some of that young chocolate chip honey dip. Get a got a scoop, baby. Take a ride in
All
my
right, all
coupe.
right, all right. I gave you that.
Want
That
to
was
shoot?
good.
I had to finish it.
You got to finish it, of course. Got to get the chorus in there. All right,
And I
last
feel bad for anybody watching that, but you know what? That's
all right, that
karaoke.
was
There's
a
a
treat. That was
reason.
a treat for all of us. What's your favorite musical instrument? I know you play like a million, but what's your go-to favorite music instrument?
Since in therapy I always use guitar, but I miss the saxophone to be honest with you.
Uh,
But honestly, like I think what really gets people going wild is the trumpet. You know, like mouth trumpet, like you know, like I mean that there's something so just good about that.
Man, that's beautiful. Like I told you guys, I can talk to Trent for days, and I mean for days. Thank you so much, Trent, for sharing your distinguished talent and passion for older adults with us. Truly, you are undoubtedly a change maker. To learn more about the work that Trent is doing, visit his website at www.nmtworks.com or across all social media. It is at Trent.Barrick. Again, that's at Trent.Barrick. For additional resources on how to create a more meaningful social engagement services for your senior living organization, including music therapy, visit us at ConnectCareHero.com. Again, that's ConnectCareHero.com.